Welcome back, guys. This is Yadi Kalsi here. Today we are going to talk about C7 California low voltage contractor certification syllabus. We are going to go through chapter 1 and chapter 2 in this video, and we'll try to cover it a little faster than usual. Chapter number 1 is about residential environments. And chapter number 2 is about residential structured cabling system. So I'll try to go over a couple of topics. Let's start. We'll talk about chapter number 1. Let's pick up chapter number 1. It's about residential environments. Means what type of residential environments you guys will be actually facing in today's market. It's not uncommon these days that you will find single family homes as well as multi-dwelling units, MDUs, using various high-end technology platforms and applications. So you need to be aware of, I'm not saying all of them, but you should be aware of what's actually happening, what is the latest and the greatest when there is something about the cabling related to that. So what we can do is we can talk a little bit about electronic home of the future. Let's pick up this topic. Let's say it's number 1, electronic home of the future. Electronic home of the future. So what exactly it means by electronic home of the future is with the proliferation of means with the upcoming of the internet, satellite and CATV these days, the homes are more networked than it was before. So previously, the other guys might have felt that the homes were not that much wired for the new technologies, and in the future, the homes have been more demanding about the telecommunication infrastructure. And as a contractor, you have to provide that infrastructure for all of these applications to work. The average actually home in America would last for like 50 to 60 years. So you need to make sure that the infrastructure, the cabling infrastructure which you are putting there is capable of handling the new technologies for the upcoming months and years. Just talking in general that we can talk about like a couple of use cases. Let's say top 10 or top 20 uses of the residential telecommunication systems. We can say top 20 uses of telecommunication systems, means in the home, why they are actually used for, what applications are being used. So the very first one you will see is internet access. And we'll try to go over that one thing at a time. You might have seen that everybody actually talks about the internet. It could be wired internet or maybe a wireless internet. Wired or wireless internet connectivity. People have like home offices, so you need to think about that also. People have, it's called telecommuter. People who actually work from home sometimes. There are multiple telephone lines these days actually coming into the network. It could be voice over IP lines, could be regular analog lines. So also like fax lines. Fax lines are becoming obsolete, but still there are lines like that. We talk about computer networks a lot, which is in conjunction with the internet connection. So how to create the computer network, we'll try to cover that in one of the topics. Then you have intercoms. If the house is too big and you have multiple offices, you might actually use intercoms. Intercom means a telephone system through which you can actually call each other, or in a SOHO environment, it's called small office, home office environment, You can have room number 1 as extension number 1, room number 2 as extension number 2, 3, 4, and you can actually page each other or talk to each other. That is called the intercom systems. You have most of the time you might have multimedia systems as well. We have seen home theater systems. We can say home theater systems or multimedia systems, where you will see like a big TV connected to a very high-end kind of a audio system. We are talking about a remote control of probably the home automation devices. We can say home automation. I can actually give you a very classic example of companies like ADT or Vivian. You might have seen their advertisements on the TV these days that this guy is actually getting out of his home, and on his cell phone he actually says, okay, like there is a smartphone like this, and he says home is armed or disarmed, right? And you have some logos here. So this is what actually they mean by a remote control of your home. You can have monitoring of your home security systems like a fire alarm system, carbon monoxide, or fire alarms, window security alarms. All of those alarms could also be actually connected. They need to be connected through some sort of wiring or a wireless system, and that system actually needs to talk to the internet or sometimes the outside world. There are a lot of other smart applications we are working on. We have smart lighting system, like for example, if you enter into the home in the night, it is like pre-programmed to really, it will switch on the light for you. It can be pre-programmed, and it could be programmed with some sort of music. So those kind of like smart home concepts, you can say SMART, smart home concepts. Then you can say you have automated a lot of things like automated sprinkler systems, garage door systems, and similar type of other gadgets. And also you have power control these days, like remotely switching on and off a few things. So you might have seen advertisements on the TV that you actually just left the home, and you can actually switch on your coffee machine to actually start brewing the coffee for you. So those kind of examples are like remotely switching on few of the devices. What I wanted to tell you was there are a lot of other use cases for, at the end of the day, electronic home of the future. This is what the topic we are talking about. But for all of these things to work, you guys have to actually provide some sort of connectivity or some sort of network in order for these things to actually work together. And these, like in itself, all of these systems are their own domains. Sometimes they could be independent domains, or sometimes they need to talk to each other to make sense of it all. Sometimes they also share lines, like analog lines. For example, the security system uses analog lines to dial outside the 911 or your phone numbers. Sometimes it might use the internet for the smartphone applications. So there are a lot of like intermingling or interdependencies of the technologies, and you need to be aware of, I'm not saying that you need to be an expert on it, but you need to be aware of what's happening around you in the world in order for you to provide a proper design and installation of RSCS, which is residential structured cabling system, in a single family home as well as in the multi-dwelling units. So if we talk about RSCS, we will talk like more details in the next topic. But there, if you think about it, if these many technologies you guys are actually going to support, so there needs to be some standard which you will be following to basically provide the cabling infrastructure. I cannot, as a contractor, so that is the reason that there is some standards, and the government actually wants people to go through the certification process in order to understand the codes and the regulations and the designs, so that each and every contractor which is certified for example, you guys are studying for C7 certification, should follow a standard. So for example, if me as a contractor, if I go and do an installation in a home about maybe 2 or 3 different things, and then I go, then one of my friend or some other competitor contractor actually goes and set up another home in the neighborhood or somewhere else, there needs to be some sort of standard, so that in case if he is called into my installation to do a troubleshooting, he should know that I have followed some sort of standard in order to implement these technologies, and it should be that way it should be easy for him to basically troubleshoot those activities. And if I am going as a contractor to other homes, I know that a certified contractor would have followed certain standards, and it would be easy for me to actually troubleshoot those activities. That is one of the activity. It says a proper cabling infrastructure will be done. We will make sure that there are quality components which are actually used in the system when you are providing that kind of cabling infrastructure, which is a part of the standard as well. And there are consistent installation techniques. So for example, if the cable is being run, there is some consistency behind it. If I am putting some speakers there needs to be certain consistency behind it. It means I should be following some sort of cookie cutter methodology in order to make it a standard installation. Then an appropriate testing and labeling has been done. So once I have done the installation, or my team has done the installation, I will make sure that as a part of standard, I have done a through and through testing, and I have labeled the wires, or I have labeled the jacks, or I have labeled the equipment, so that if any other contractor is actually coming, or any other company is coming to support them later on, they should be able to actually demystify what I have done without contacting me, or without actually going through tough time figuring out how the cabling was done, or how the labeling was done, or if this guy even knew his job well. So let's type it here. Why I think the reason is what I was telling is why there needs to be some sort of standards, right? So we can say standards, right? So why they are followed? We can say like there are probably primary 4 reasons. So for example, one of the reasons is a proper, consistent design, right? So I will actually cover this when we say RSCS design or the cabling infrastructure, cabling infra, right? The second thing is usage of the quality components. As you might have seen, this C7 actually dictates what type of cabling you need to use in order to be compliant, or in order to be compliant with the code. So where they are asking me to put like a series 11 cable, I cannot actually get away by putting a series 6 cable. Or where they are actually asking me to put a Cat 5e cable, I should not be actually putting a Cat 3 cable to save a cost or something like that. So this ensures that I have used compliant components in order to do that install. The third thing we were talking about is the consistent installation techniques. Consistent installation techniques. This was consistent design, and this is consistent installation techniques. Means when I'm running a wire, I should run a wire in this way, kind of techniques. Then there is appropriate testing, that I have done appropriate testing, and I have labeled the components of the RSCS system. So this is what actually means by something what we call it like a standard, right? So we have already covered, but let's pick it up again and try to distribute the services into 4 major buckets. So what type of services are there? Type of services which are majorly covered in the RSCS installation. So the very first one is telecommunications. So some type of telecom network will be there, or telecommunication system will be there. The second one is entertainment systems. Entertainment systems. I will try to explain more on this, though we have touched a little bit. Then there are security systems, like we talk about ADT and some other companies as well. The number fourth is automation, something related to the home automation in residence, and it will help us. It will help you guys to basically go into the commercial pieces as well. So when we talk about telecommunication, it could actually mean a computer network, a wired network, or a wireless network. It could be installation of the internet gateways. It could be video distribution devices, and so on and so forth. So in the entertainment, there are in-wall and in-ceiling speaker phones. There are home theater systems. We can say home audio system, a satellite system, for example, dish network or direct TV, and those kind of things. In the security, we talk about ADT kind of systems, where you can actually control and monitor your garage doors, or your sprinkler systems, or your windows, or your fire alarms, or your doors and windows, and those kind of things. In the automation network, we are talking about lighting controls. We are talking about heating. We are talking about ventilation. It's called HVAC systems, which is called HVAC controls, or smart controls, like smart thermostats, and so on and so forth. So if you think about all of the residential environment cablings, they could be actually distributed into these four major buckets, which is the telecom networks or telecommunication wiring. We can say entertainment wiring, we can say security wiring, and we can also say that it's a automation systems wiring. So you might be actually called in to do only the telecom wiring. The guy might actually call you and say, hey, could you actually set up this computer network? I have 4 computers. I have internet from Time Warner, or I have internet from somebody else. Could you hook this up for me? So there are, in this case, there will be a coax cable which will be involved into it. There will be a couple of, CAT cables involved into it in order to actually put this together. And I will tell you how to go about it, more details. Sometimes you might be actually called to put the entertainment systems together. The guy might say, hey, I need to actually put a home theater system together. Sometimes you might be actually called to put the security system together, or sometimes they might say, hey, could you set up this new thermostat I have, or something of that nature. You might need to run some cables, and so on and so forth. Or they might actually call you in the new installation. If you're a well qualified contractor company, then they might actually tell you to, hey, basically come and install the whole system, and now it gets actually intermingled with it. So you will run a telecom system. So try to think that how complex it could actually get when all of these things are actually connected together. So it becomes pretty complex. You need to have a knowledge about not only the cabling system. Cabling system is just the physical network. It's a physical layout of the cabling, but they might actually tell you to make that logically work also. So I'm just trying to tinker you into 2 different areas. It actually is the networking technology, or networking terminology, where you say when you create networks, there is a physical layer and there is a logical layer, right? So you guys are actually only doing the physical layer, which is a physical installation of the cabling infrastructure right now. And we'll talk more about what is a logical network, what is IP addressing, how to set up a computer network, what is a DHCP address, or what is a static IP addresses, what is an ISP, internet service provider. Here they have used a different term which we are going to actually cover now. How this whole internet system actually works, how come only one internet connection is shared between different computers, wired computers, wireless computers. Your TV uses Wi-Fi, your TV uses Netflix, and so on and so forth. So all of those things, it's not a part of the C7 certification, but I think you guys should actually start studying more about that in order to be more aware and more effective at your jobs. So we'll talk about integrated service provider right now. I was calling it ISP, so it's a little confusing term. Just pay a little bit more attention. So we will call it integrated service provider. It's called ISP, but this term is actually, the ISP is primarily used for internet service provider. It's not integrated service provider, it's actually internet service provider. So but for now we are only going to talk about integrated service provider for this C7 certification. When in the future we are actually making videos about computer networks and related technologies, we will talk about ISP as an internet service provider at that moment. So let's talk about integrated service provider. So majorly, we are talking about two type of different things here. Nothing to really worry about. It's just a concept. You guys need to understand what exactly it means, because they are going to use a term called AP. It's called access provider also, So the technology provider or access provider here, they are actually calling it access provider. So what exactly it means, we will cover it in the future topics. So when you have a residence, there are two possible ways of this particular residential cabling system which could be installed. So the very first version is, let's assume that you are a builder, right? Oh, sorry, not you are a builder, that there is a builder, and then there is the owner of the home, right? Owner of the home. The owner of the home actually calls different people to install different technologies. So we have talked about the telecommunication networks, just as a refresher. Telecom networks, we talked about entertainment systems, we talked about security systems, then we talked about automation systems, right? Or home automation system. So assume that you called a contractor, you said, hey, I need to install a telecom network. Then you called another contractor, you said, I need an entertainment system. Then you called another contractor, you said, hey, you know what, I need, for example, security system, right? Then you called another contractor where you say, hey, I need to put a home automation system together. So imagine that the builder actually gave the home to the owner, and now the owner is responsible for all of this. It could be one contractor, and based on their own confidence, the contractor might actually go there. You guys might actually go there based on your personal experiences in the field and the knowledge. You might tell, hey, you know what, we are only comfortable with putting the telecom networks. We are not very comfortable with putting security system, or we are not very comfortable in putting the home automation system together. So the owner might actually land up having like 4 different contractors for this one, and think about the nightmares if something actually goes wrong. Contractor 1 might actually tell you, hey, contractor 2 didn't do his job well, and so on and so forth. So this has some pros and cons related to that. But this is probably, you can say it is a kind of a old way of thinking. These days, the builders, they have become probably more aware of the market, what their customers are actually looking for. So what happens is, that's how this integrated service provider concept actually came in. So here you will say it's an ISP, and then there is a builder, and then there is an owner, right? And all of them are actually integrated together. So what happens is, the builder actually contacts the ISP. Integrated service provider means the integrated service provider company can actually provide all of these services together. The cabling part of it, and they might actually help further as well. So the ISP will actually, the builder will be contacting the ISP. The ISP will directly go to the homeowner, and during the construction itself, they will actually put the network together for RSCS, right? How that network is actually put together, what are those terms and everything else, we are going to actually cover in the next chapter, which is chapter number 2. We talk about, I think at the last topic, we'll talk just touch a little bit about single family homes and multi-dwelling units, because they are going to actually ask you what is the difference, how you do the cabling, and so on and so forth. So let's say single family homes, and they have used a technical term for multi-dwelling, DWELLING, dwelling units. It's called MDUs, and they might actually ask you what is an MDU, right? So it's just a fancy term for something which I'm going to actually draw. So in a single family home, let's say there are 2 floors, floor 1 and floor 2. So this could be a single family home. Now, when you have something like this, and you have floor 2 and floor 1, you have this whole thing is just like as one apartment unit, APT unit, and you have 1 apartment unit, you have 2nd apartment unit, and 3 apartment units, but all of them are considered as one entity. In this case, you will call them a multi-dwelling unit. Here, it's a single family home. Make sense? That's all the differences. So when you do the cabling into this, I know you guys might be getting anxious, But when you do a cabling in a single family home, or when you do a cabling in a multi-dwelling unit which belongs to like one person, then it becomes little difficult. Not difficult, the technology is the same, but how do you actually implement the technology, or how do you implement the RSCS structured cabling differs a little bit, but the terms which we will be using in chapter number 2 are very common terms. Here, just wanted to make sure that you guys are already aware that a single family home could be a single floor as well, right? Only floor one is a single family home. So how to basically design an RSCS cabling infrastructure and implement the cabling infrastructure. What are those common terms? What are those standards? How to use those standards? We will be covering in chapter number 2. So thank you again for watching. If you like the video, please do send me the feedback and comment on the videos. Let me know what else would you like to know, or what else you want to cover, which is actually not covered in the syllabus or the chapters in the C7 exam, and I will try to actually cover as a separate section, probably as an add-on section to this C7 program. Thanks guys for watching it again. We'll go to chapter number 2 now. Thank you.